Niagara's wine industry is estimated to contribute $1 billion annually to Canada's gross domestic product, but according to a report called UNCORK Ontario, it has the potential for much, much more. Niagara Falls MPP Wayne Gates believes that added potential can only be reached if the 6.1% provincial tax that wineries are forced to pay on sales, even at their own locations, is eliminated. Wayne, you've introduced a private member's bill. What's the status of it?
Yeah, well, actually, I've introduced the bill twice.
2018, 2020, and now
2020
again.
and then again, so 3 times. And both times it got full party support at first reading. And then it's up to the government, which in this case was a Conservative government, to call the bill so that we can debate it and then get it passed, go to committee, and then bring in all the wineries and say, you know, this is what's going on in our wineries. This is what we need to be supported. Unfortunately, so far, in the first 2 times, they never called the bill to committee. So this time, you know, we did it a little different. We got some of the small and medium-sized wineries to come to the press conference, talk about their issues on why it's so important to eliminate the 6.1 tax, which is extremely unfair to small and medium-sized wineries.
And it's key that you're involving them. Now, I've been to a couple of events where this has been the topic of discussion, and you know, it's some of the ownership of the larger wineries that are leading this discussion, but we have 189 wineries, I believe, in Niagara right now, and most of them are small to medium sized.
Most of the wineries are small to medium size, and it is important that we have the support of all the other organizations that represent wine industries. That has really been key, and that has really happened this time, including the Chamber of Commerce, including the Council of Niagara-on-the-Lake. So there's a lot more.
And also the hotel and restaurant, and those industries are now behind this as well.
Everybody's behind it, and you mentioned the UNCORK report. I think that was done by Deloitte and Touche.
Yes.
And that report under John Peller's leadership, quite frankly, he seems to be the face, and I know some of his, some others are too, but he seemed to be the face. I know they came to Queen's Park during Niagara Week to talk about the wine industry to the government. I know they're meeting as we speak here today. I don't know if they're meeting today, but certainly over the last little while, they're continuing to meet with the government to say there's a number of things we need. In that report, it says right now they do about $1 billion in GDP. They believe that with some supports from the government, that could be an $8 billion industry over the course of a number of years. We know it creates 23,000 jobs in the province of Ontario. We know that 90%, I think it's 95%, because I'm going off the top of my head, all grapes are grown in Niagara. This is an industry that has the potential to continue to grow, but they can't grow if they don't get support from the government. And I know it might not be a fair comparison, but I believe that governments play a role in making sure that all different sectors of the economy should prosper. You know, you take a look at the billions of dollars they've given to the auto sector for the EV vehicles. They gave a lot of money up in Hamilton for steel to do different processes. So I'm saying, well, why not? You know that this is hurting our wine industry. You know it's hurting our VQA wine industry, because we want to make sure we're using VQA wines 100% Ontario grapes. So why can't we get the government to say, okay, let's take a look at this 6.1. Let's see, is it fair to be charging the small and medium size?
Why is that tax there? What is the justification for that tax? Is it to prop up the LCBO? Because we're looking at sales that aren't happening at the LCBO stores. They're happening at the wineries.
I deliberately didn't get into the LCBO with the bill. We know that we have lots of problems with the LCBO on shelf space.
Right.
That's a whole different argument, and it's a whole different argument, I think, under Deloitte's report, the Cork report, that says, how do we fix this industry? Fixing the industry includes the LCBO and shelf space, and how do we make sure that our wines are getting their fair share of shelf space? I think that's a different issue than the taxation issue, because the taxation issue, what I'm finding and what I'm being told by the small and medium-sized
wineries,
it's not a consumer tax. It's a tax that's paid by that small
to medium-sized winery.
And yet you allow international wines to come in and not pay the tax. So I'm saying, well, somebody explain to me how that's fair to Ontario, quite frankly.
And it's quite clear that other wine locations, Kelowna, When we look at, that area, when we look at Napa Valley, we look at Australia, other locations that are known for their wines don't have these similar taxes.
They don't pay the tax. And that's the unfairness that I felt when I met with the wine industry going back now. It's almost 5 years, hard to believe, but this has been a discussion that we've had for a long time. And I said, what do you need me to do? And so that's why we raised it. The good news is it seems like we've got the ear of the government. We have an MPP in Sam Oosterhoff that I've had conversation with him on this. I'm saying, let's work together on it. Let's figure a way that we can get rid of this unfair tax so that we can prosper here in Niagara. And that's what it's all about. You have to work together. You made a comment that I think it's right on the money. It's important to get everybody on the same page, everybody kind of rowing the boat the same way.
Right.
And that's why I thought it would be a good idea to bring small and medium-sized wineries right to the press conference. So it's not Wayne Gates speaking, it's the industry speaking. This is their livelihood.
Last time you and I talked about this at an event, you mentioned that you were aware of a number of these small and medium-sized wineries that were at risk of closing.
Yes.
And that's a real risk.
It's a real risk, and some of them are in Niagara. In my understanding, I'm not going to come on a show and tell.
We
who
don't
they
want
are.
to name them.
We don't name them, but we know that there's some even as far away as Hamilton that are in trouble. That I don't know if they're going to survive after this season. We know that we have some that are in trouble here, medium-sized wineries. I've met with and talked to them and said, what do we need? And they're saying this is so important to us. It could be $3,000, $4,000 a month that they're paying. They could take that money rather than pay it to the government. They could take that money, reinvest into their wineries, reinvest into maybe hiring one employee, two employees, three employees. That all helps our local economy. So these are things. This is something that I think we can do. I do know, and I'm very pleased about this. Since the court report, I know that the industry is meeting with the government at a bigger level than just the taxation.
So
there's lots of other issues.
Are you in a positive state now, thinking that this is after, the third attempt, that this third attempt is potentially the one that's going to go forward?
Well, I think I have to be positive. I think that's my role, to be positive and make sure that we're all in the same boat. Make sure that we're getting our message to the decision makers. In this particular case, it's a Conservative government. The positive thing that I'm seeing is that in talking to some of even the bigger grape growers in Niagara who are also behind this, they're saying they are having meetings. They've been meeting for a while. We know they're going to do something. They've talked about convenience stores. They've talked about more in the grocery stores. They've talked about a lot of different issues on how we can help this industry. But the one that they're still on board with, and I've checked that before I come on your show to make sure, listen, are we still driving the same bus the same way, saying we need this 6.1 to be eliminated so we can protect our small, medium-sized wineries?
And the farmers.
And they said yes.
The farmers as well, the grape growers.
Yes. And like I said, 90 to 95% of all grapes grown in Ontario are grown in Niagara. Right? We got the best place in the world to grow grapes right here in Niagara. We should be expanding, quite frankly, not worrying about if wineries are going to close. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And the report was very clear. We're doing $1 billion now, 23,000 jobs. In a number of years, that could go to $8 billion.
We have to unlock that potential.
We've got to unlock it, yes.
What's the next step, and what is the timeline? What are we looking at?
I'm hoping, I believe that the government's going to come down with some announcement in a short period of time. I'm hoping, and I know the industry is hoping, that what their next step is to include that they don't think it's right that small and medium-sized wineries are paying the tax. They want to see the industry grow here in Niagara. I'm hoping that that's part of the announcement. I'm sure there's going to be an announcement. Without being too political here, because I don't want to do that, but this is a government that might need make some good announcements,
right.
And hopefully they'll utilize their opportunity to say we support a very valuable industry here in the province of Ontario. We understand that 6.1 is unfair. It's not fair that somebody from Australia can dump their wines here as you're paying this tax out of the very little profit that you're making. I don't know if a lot of wine growers, especially the small and medium wine, are making a lot of money. They have a passion to make wine,
right.
and so they want to stay in the industry. They just need some support.
Exactly.
And the way to do that is through the government, through an MPP like me, by giving the opportunity opportunity. I get an opportunity to decide on what bills I can discuss at Queen's Park. I decided to use the wine bill because how important it is.
Well, this
trying
is
to
an
protect
important
the jobs.
one. Very
It's
important.
Yeah,
And we'll be following the progress, and thank you for coming in to talk about it today. Thanks so much,
I
Wayne.
appreciate talking too much, but I kind of get going when I get on this issue because I really want to see the government do the right thing here.